Power is one of the most misunderstood forces in human life. Most people believe power comes from authority, wealth, status, or physical dominance. They spend years chasing recognition, hoping that external achievements will make others respect and fear them. But history repeatedly proves the opposite. The greatest leaders, strategists, and influential individuals first conquered themselves before they ever conquered circumstances. The person who cannot control his emotions will eventually become controlled by someone else. Anger, jealousy, pride, and impatience are invisible chains that quietly destroy judgment. Every emotional reaction reveals a weakness that observant people can exploit. Real power begins the moment you stop allowing your emotions to dictate your actions. When someone insults you, your first instinct is to respond immediately. When someone challenges your authority, you want to defend yourself, but immediate reactions rarely demonstrate strength. They expose vulnerability. The calm person who chooses when to speak and when to remain silent possesses a psychological advantage over everyone around him. Self-control is not suppression. It is intelligent direction of energy. Instead of wasting energy proving yourself, you preserve it for meaningful action. This is why history remembers those who remained composed under pressure. They understood that emotional discipline creates mental clarity, and mental clarity creates strategic power. Power is often misunderstood because people are taught to measure it by what can be seen. They admire wealth, status, titles, physical strength, or public recognition, believing these outward symbols define influence. Yet the greatest form of power is invisible. It begins in the mind and is reflected through self-control. Before a person can lead others, command respect, or influence the world around them, they must first learn to master themselves. Every great strategist understood this principle. They recognized that the mind is both the battlefield and the weapon. If you cannot govern your own thoughts, emotions, and impulses, someone else eventually will. Every emotional weakness becomes an opening through which manipulation enters. Every uncontrolled reaction gives another person information about your fears, insecurities, and desires. True power, therefore, is not about forcing others to obey you. It is about becoming so disciplined that your own emotions never betray your purpose. Every day presents countless opportunities to lose control. Someone criticizes your work, ignores your effort, questions your intelligence, or disrespects your character. Your immediate instinct is to defend yourself, argue your position, or retaliate. These reactions feel natural because the human mind is designed to protect the ego. But what feels natural is not always what is powerful. The strongest individuals understand that every emotional reaction comes at a cost. Anger clouds judgment. Pride encourages unnecessary battles. Fear creates hesitation. Envy distracts attention from personal growth. When these emotions dictate your behavior, you surrender control of your decisions. You become predictable. Predictable people are easy to influence because others know exactly which emotional buttons to press. The disciplined person refuses to hand over that advantage. Instead of reacting instantly, they pause. That pause is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. Within that brief moment lies the ability to choose wisdom over instinct. Mastering yourself also requires accepting responsibility for your internal world. Many people spend their lives blaming circumstances, difficult people, bad luck, or unfair treatment for their unhappiness. While external challenges certainly exist, your response always remains your responsibility. Two individuals can experience the same setback and produce completely different outcomes. One becomes bitter, defeated, and resentful. The other becomes wiser, stronger, and more determined. The difference is not found in the event itself, but in the mind interpreting it. This realization is empowering. because it shifts authority back into your hands. Once you understand that your mindset determines your direction more than your circumstances, you stop waiting for life to become easier. Instead, you become stronger. Every obstacle transforms into training. Every failure becomes education. Every disappointment develops resilience. This is the psychology behind self-mastery. You no longer depend on perfect conditions because your greatest strength exists within your ability to adapt. Self-control is also built through discipline rather than motivation. Motivation is unreliable because it depends on emotion. Some mornings you feel inspired, while others you feel exhausted. If your actions depend entirely on how you feel, your progress will always remain inconsistent. Discipline eliminates this problem. It teaches you to act according to your values rather than your emotions. The disciplined individual keeps promises made to themselves, even when nobody is watching. They wake up when they said they would. They complete difficult tasks without searching for excuses. They continue learning when others become comfortable. Every small act of discipline strengthens self-respect because it proves that your actions align with your intentions. Over time, this consistency creates confidence that cannot be shaken by criticism or temporary failure. Real confidence is earned through repeated acts of self-control, not through empty affirmations or external praise. Another important aspect of mastering yourself is learning to become comfortable with silence. Most people rush to explain themselves because they fear misunderstanding. They speak excessively because silence makes them uncomfortable. Yet silence possesses enormous psychological power. It allows you to observe instead of react. While others reveal their thoughts, emotions, and insecurities through constant conversation, the disciplined person gathers information. Observation reveals patterns that impulsive people never notice. You begin to understand motivations, habits, weaknesses, and intentions simply because you chose to listen instead of speaking. This knowledge becomes one of your greatest advantages. You realize that influence often comes not from saying more, but from saying less, with greater purpose. Your words gain weight because they are chosen carefully, rather than spoken carelessly. Mastering yourself also means separating your identity from temporary emotions. You are not your anger, your fear, your disappointment, or your excitement. These feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent definitions of who you are. Many poor decisions occur because people mistake temporary emotions for permanent truths. They end relationships in moments of anger, abandon goals during periods of frustration, or make reckless choices driven by excitement. The disciplined mind understands that emotions change, but principles remain. Instead of asking, "What do I feel right now?" powerful individuals ask, "What action aligns with my long-term purpose?" This simple shift transforms decision-making. Immediate satisfaction loses its appeal because future success becomes more valuable than present comfort. Ultimately, mastering yourself is a lifelong process rather than a destination. Every challenge presents another opportunity to strengthen your discipline. Every temptation tests your commitment to your values. Every conflict measures your emotional maturity. The individual who continues choosing patience over impulse, wisdom over pride, and discipline over comfort gradually develops an inner authority that no external circumstance can destroy. Such a person no longer seeks power through intimidation, approval, or recognition, because they have already discovered the greatest source of strength. They understand that when the mind remains steady, emotions remain obedient, and actions remain intentional, true power becomes an unshakable part of their character. Strength is often mistaken for aggression. Society celebrates the loudest voice, the quickest response, and the person who appears fearless in confrontation. Yet history repeatedly demonstrates that emotional control is far greater than physical strength. Physical power may allow someone to dominate a moment, but emotional mastery allows a person to shape an entire lifetime. The individual who cannot control anger, fear, pride, or frustration becomes a prisoner of those emotions. Every decision begins to serve temporary feelings instead of long-term objectives. The truly powerful individual understands that emotions are valuable signals, but they should never become the commander of one's actions. They observe their emotions without allowing those emotions to dictate behavior. This simple distinction separates leaders from followers, strategists from impulsive thinkers, and respected individuals from those who are merely feared. Every person will eventually encounter situations designed to provoke an emotional response. Someone may insult your abilities, question your intentions, betray your trust, or attempt to embarrass you publicly. In those moments, your greatest battle is not against the other person, but against yourself. Human instinct demands immediate retaliation because the ego interprets every challenge as a threat. It whispers that silence is weakness and that restraint is surrender. Yet this instinct is often deceptive. The person who reacts immediately hands control of the situation to the one who created the provocation. They become predictable, allowing others to manipulate their behavior with little effort. Emotional control interrupts this cycle. Instead of reacting automatically, the disciplined individual creates space between emotion and action. Within that space exists the freedom to choose the response that serves their purpose, rather than satisfying their pride. Anger is perhaps the clearest example of this principle. Anger creates the illusion of strength because it fills the body with energy and urgency. It convinces you that immediate action is necessary. However, anger rarely improves judgment. It narrows perspective, exaggerates problems, and encourages reckless decisions. Words spoken in anger often destroy relationships built over years. Decisions made in anger frequently create consequences that last much longer than the emotion itself. Powerful individuals recognize anger without allowing it to become their master. They understand that remaining calm during conflict is not passive behavior. It is active discipline. Calmness protects clarity. While others become consumed by emotion, the composed individual continues to observe, calculate, and think strategically. Their silence often creates greater psychological pressure than shouting ever could. Fear also influences behavior in subtle ways. Many people believe fear only appears during obvious danger, but it quietly shapes countless daily decisions. Fear of rejection prevents people from speaking honestly. Fear of failure discourages ambitious goals. Fear of criticism limits creativity. Fear of discomfort keeps individuals trapped in familiar routines. Emotional control does not require eliminating fear, because fear is a natural human emotion. Instead, it requires refusing to obey fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite its presence. Every time you choose principle over comfort, your confidence grows stronger. Every challenge faced willingly weakens fear's influence over your future decisions. Gradually, your mind learns that temporary discomfort is far less dangerous than lifelong regret. Another emotion capable of destroying power is pride. Pride convinces people they must always appear correct, superior, or invulnerable. It prevents learning because admitting ignorance feels like defeat. It damages relationships because apologizing feels beneath one's status. Pride transforms simple disagreements into unnecessary wars. The emotionally disciplined person does not confuse humility with weakness. They understand that learning from others strengthens their position rather than diminishing it. They willingly admit mistakes because correcting an error is far more valuable than protecting an illusion of perfection. This humility creates flexibility, allowing continuous growth while others remain trapped by their own ego. Patience is one of the highest expressions of emotional control. Modern life encourages instant gratification. Technology delivers immediate entertainment, immediate communication, and immediate information. As a result, many people expect success, recognition, and rewards with the same speed. When results fail to appear, frustration quickly replaces determination. The emotionally disciplined individual understands that meaningful achievements require time. They remain committed, even when progress seems invisible. They recognize that consistency produces results long before those results become visible to others. Patience protects them from abandoning valuable goals, simply because immediate rewards are absent. Their emotional stability allows them to outlast competitors driven only by excitement and temporary motivation. Emotional control also improves relationships because it replaces impulsive judgment with thoughtful understanding. Instead of assuming negative intentions, disciplined individuals seek clarity. Instead of escalating conflict, they ask questions. Instead of speaking merely to win arguments, they communicate to solve problems. This approach earns respect because people naturally trust those who remain composed under pressure. Calmness creates psychological safety, allowing productive conversations where emotional chaos would otherwise dominate. The ability to remain balanced during disagreement often influences people more effectively than forceful persuasion ever could. Ultimately, emotional control represents freedom. A person controlled by anger, fear, pride, or impatience lives according to circumstances. Their mood changes with every opinion, every criticism, and every unexpected event. The emotionally disciplined person lives according to principles instead. Their peace does not depend upon external approval. Their confidence is not built upon temporary victories. Their decisions remain consistent because they are guided by purpose rather than emotion. This inner stability becomes a quiet form of authority that others instinctively recognize. Physical strength may command attention for a moment, but emotional mastery commands respect for a lifetime because the strongest person is not the one who can defeat others. It is the one who has learned to defeat the weaknesses within themselves. In a world where everyone is eager to speak, defend themselves, and demand attention, the greatest advantage often belongs to the person who knows how to remain silent. Silence is not emptiness, nor is it a sign of fear or uncertainty. It is a deliberate act of self-control that allows the mind to observe, calculate, and understand before taking action. Most people underestimate the psychological power of silence because they associate it with passivity. In reality, silence is one of the strongest forms of communication. It forces others to reveal themselves while protecting your own intentions. Every unnecessary word exposes your thoughts, your emotions, and sometimes your weaknesses. The disciplined individual understands that influence does not come from speaking the most, but from speaking with purpose. They know that words gain value when they are used carefully rather than carelessly. When people feel uncomfortable, they often fill the silence with explanations. They defend themselves before they are accused, justify their decisions before anyone questions them, and reveal information that was never requested. This behavior usually comes from insecurity rather than confidence. A person who constantly explains themselves is often seeking approval from others. However, true confidence requires no constant validation. Powerful individuals understand that not every opinion deserves a response, and not every criticism deserves an explanation. Sometimes your silence creates more curiosity than any argument ever could. It leaves people uncertain because they cannot predict your next move. That uncertainty becomes a source of psychological strength. While others waste energy trying to understand your intentions, you remain focused on your purpose. Patience is another quality that separates ordinary individuals from truly influential ones. Modern society encourages instant gratification. People expect immediate success, instant recognition, and quick solutions to every problem. When these expectations are not met, frustration replaces determination. Many dreams fail not because they are impossible, but because people become impatient. They abandon their goals moments before progress begins to appear. The patient individual understands that meaningful achievements require time. Just as a tree cannot grow overnight, character and influence cannot be built through shortcuts. Every day of disciplined effort strengthens the foundation beneath future success. While impatient people constantly change direction, patient individuals remain committed to their vision. This consistency allows them to accomplish what others believe is impossible. Patience also protects judgment. Emotional decisions are often rushed because they seek immediate relief rather than lasting solutions. During moments of anger, fear, or excitement, people make promises they cannot keep and decisions they later regret. Time has a remarkable ability to reveal truth. Problems that seem overwhelming today often appear much smaller after emotions settle. By waiting before acting, you allow reason to replace impulse. This simple habit prevents countless mistakes. Strategic individuals understand that every important decision deserves careful reflection. They refuse to allow temporary emotions to determine permanent outcomes. Their patience becomes an investment that consistently produces wiser choices. Discipline transforms silence and patience into lasting habits. Without discipline, even the wisest advice remains useless, because knowledge without action changes nothing. Many people know what they should do, yet few consistently do it. They understand the importance of controlling emotions, remaining patient, and speaking carefully, but they fail to practice these principles daily. Discipline bridges the gap between understanding and behavior. It teaches you to choose what is necessary instead of what feels comfortable. Every morning you rise despite lacking motivation. Every task you complete despite distractions, and every temptation you resist strengthens your character. These seemingly small decisions accumulate over time until discipline becomes part of your identity rather than something you occasionally practice. One of the greatest benefits of discipline is reliability. People naturally trust those whose actions remain consistent regardless of circumstances. Anyone can remain calm when life is easy. Anyone can remain patient when success comes quickly. The true test appears during hardship. Discipline ensures that your principles remain unchanged, even when emotions fluctuate. It allows you to continue moving forward while others surrender to frustration or comfort. This consistency creates a reputation that cannot be manufactured through words alone. Others begin to respect you because they recognize that your actions reflect stability rather than impulse. Observation is another hidden reward of silence and patience. The majority of people are so focused on expressing themselves that they rarely pay attention to what others reveal. Every conversation contains valuable information about character, motivation, insecurity, and ambition. People unintentionally expose themselves through tone, body language, habits, and emotional reactions. The patient observer notices these patterns because they are not distracted by the need to dominate every discussion. They understand that knowledge is a form of power. The more you understand people, the better you can predict their behavior and make intelligent decisions. This ability is not developed through endless talking, but through careful listening. Every moment spent observing expands your understanding of human nature. Silence also demonstrates emotional maturity. There are situations where proving someone wrong brings no meaningful benefit. Winning an argument may satisfy the ego while damaging a valuable relationship. The disciplined individual recognizes that being right is less important than achieving the desired outcome. They choose their battles wisely because they understand that energy is limited. Instead of fighting every disagreement, they preserve their focus for opportunities that truly matter. This selective approach makes their actions more effective because they are never wasted on trivial conflicts. Ultimately, silence, patience, and discipline work together to create lasting influence. Silence allows you to observe. Patience allows you to wait for the right moment. Discipline gives you the strength to act according to principles rather than emotions. These qualities cannot be developed overnight because they require daily practice and conscious effort. Yet once they become part of your character, they transform the way you think, communicate, and lead. People begin to notice your calmness under pressure, your thoughtful decisions, and your unwavering consistency. They may not immediately understand why they respect you, but they instinctively recognize the quiet authority that belongs to someone who has mastered these timeless principles. Such influence is not built through force or intimidation. It is earned through the steady practice of self-control, proving that the strongest presence in any room is often the one that speaks the least, waits the longest, and acts with the greatest discipline. The greatest advantage a person can possess is not intelligence alone, nor courage, nor ambition. It is the ability to think before acting. Most people spend their lives reacting to circumstances instead of directing them. They allow emotions, pressure, and urgency to make decisions on their behalf. As a result, they often create problems that could have been avoided with a few moments of thoughtful reflection. True power belongs to those who understand that every action has consequences, and every decision shapes the future. They never allow temporary emotions to overpower permanent goals. Instead of asking what feels right at the moment, they ask what will produce the best outcome over time. This habit transforms ordinary thinking into strategic thinking, separating those who merely survive from those who consistently succeed. Every challenge in life offers two possible paths. One path is immediate reaction, driven by emotion and instinct. The other is deliberate action, guided by reason and purpose. The first path is easy because it requires no discipline. Anyone can speak in anger, quit in frustration, or act out of fear. The second path demands patience and self-control. It requires the courage to pause, analyze the situation, and choose the response that aligns with long-term objectives. This simple pause is where real power begins. It allows the mind to separate facts from emotions and opportunities from distractions. Those who master this ability rarely regret their decisions because they are made with clarity instead of impulse. Strategic thinkers understand that timing is often more important than speed. Society encourages people to move quickly, make rapid decisions, and chase immediate results. While speed has its place, acting too soon can destroy valuable opportunities. A seed planted before the proper season fails to grow, just as an opportunity pursued before the right moment often ends in disappointment. The patient individual studies the environment, gathers information, and waits until conditions become favorable. This is not hesitation born from fear, but patience guided by wisdom. They know that the right action at the wrong time can be just as ineffective as the wrong action itself. Another characteristic of those who think before they act is their ability to separate emotions from facts. During conflict, people often confuse assumptions with reality. They interpret situations through the lens of anger, pride, or insecurity rather than objective truth. This emotional distortion leads to poor judgment, A disciplined mind refuses to make important decisions while emotions are overwhelming. Instead, it seeks understanding before reaching conclusions. It asks questions instead of making accusations, listens before responding, and considers multiple perspectives before choosing a course of action. This thoughtful approach prevents unnecessary mistakes and strengthens credibility because others recognize fairness and wisdom in the decision-making process. Thinking before acting also requires the courage to resist social pressure. Many individuals make choices simply because everyone else is doing the same. They fear standing apart from the crowd more than they fear making the wrong decision. History repeatedly shows that extraordinary achievements belong to those willing to think independently. They evaluate ideas based on principles rather than popularity. They refuse to let public opinion determine their direction. Independent thinking allows them to recognize opportunities that others overlook and avoid mistakes that others blindly repeat. This intellectual discipline creates lasting influence because their decisions are based on careful analysis instead of emotional trends. Perhaps the greatest benefit of deliberate thinking is the confidence it creates. Confidence built on appearance or external success can disappear overnight. Confidence built on wise decision-making becomes increasingly stronger with experience. Each thoughtful choice reinforces trust in your own judgment. Over time, you develop the ability to remain calm even during uncertainty because you know your decisions are guided by careful reasoning rather than impulse. This quiet confidence inspires respect from others. People naturally look to those who remain composed when everyone else is overwhelmed. They trust individuals whose actions consistently reflect wisdom, patience, and foresight. Ultimately, power does not belong to the loudest voice, the fastest reaction, or the strongest display of emotion. It belongs to the individual who understands that every decision is an investment in the future. By thinking before acting, you protect your reputation, strengthen your relationships, and position yourself for long-term success. Every deliberate choice becomes evidence of self-mastery, proving that true influence is not measured by how quickly you respond, but by how wisely you choose your actions. The individual who develops this habit becomes difficult to manipulate, impossible to intimidate, and capable of leading with clarity in situations where others are ruled by emotion. That is the psychology of lasting power, where every thoughtful decision quietly builds a foundation of respect, authority, and inner strength that endures far beyond any temporary victory.